Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Hey there, hi there, ho there. This is RHJunior, RHJunior Reality Check coming to you live over the internet through a system of tubes, through the boob tube known as YouTube, trying to bring you yet another broadcast in a desperate struggle for survival with my little live stream program that I like to call Spleen Squeezins. I always fiddle with it. I always fiddle with the volume when I start out because I'm never satisfied. I'm never satisfied. I'm always thinking it's too loud, it's too soft, it's too soft, it's too loud. I don't know. I don't know. But I just absolutely have to fiddle with it just in case. Okay, this is me. This is me starting up live. I'm doing a live show middle of afternoon on a Sunday. Why not? I'm awake. I'm awake when I shouldn't be. I'm sitting in a chair in front of a computer when I should be lying in bed with my feet propped up over my head. Kind of scared for the bottom of my feet. I can't see the bottom of my feet. I don't have a mirror to look at the bottom of my feet. They feel swollen, almost like they're sore and painful. You know, it's swollen. It's bad when the soles of your feet start feeling swollen. That's bad. I can't look at them, but I wouldn't even know what I was looking at if I did. Crap. And I'm sure you're thrilled to hear all that. Damn, my feet hurt. Okay. The reason I'm starting this up. This is me. This is basically me. Just giving myself another reason to stay awake for a little while, and I don't know. I'm just trying to make an excuse. Well, let me put it this way. I just found an email. Somebody posted another, you know. Post a thing on my page, don't complain if I start losing readers. I'm like, you're right. He's right. But, you hear about these people that, like, they come down with cancer or some crap. And yet they're still updating their, I'm still updating my webpage. I may slow down a little bit. While they're sucking the tumor out through my nose or whatever. And you're like, oh man, what a hero, right? And back, all I can do is sit there and think, I suck so bad. Me, this month has been abysmal. This is the last day of March. It's the last day of March, and this entire month of March has been abysmal. It's awful. I haven't been able to produce anything, almost nothing. And I'm not proud of that, but it's like I've described it to you before. I don't know if I'm sick or if I'm just, I don't know what. I've been a wreck this month, and well, whatever. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to you. You don't care. You don't care. You shouldn't have to care. What the heck? I'm trying to switch over to the art window to my art program, but the source switcher thingy-majig is not working right. There's the header. I think I can delete this one. Game capture. I haven't used the game capture in ages. I can delete that. Window capture. Window capture. Window capture 2. There we go. All right. Hooray! Hooray! Huzzah! Huzzah! He figured it out, the genius. I'm going to switch audio tracks here. Let me switch over to new. Try something different. What it is actually switching over to a collection called Dance and Electronic Music. From the YouTube audio library, free copyright music. Take note. Stop trying to file copyright claims against me. That's for the audio. That's for whatever made in Taiwan copyright violating detecting auto AI they've got on the system. Stop it, you little digital retard! I've had idiots trying to file copyright claims against the sounds of rainwater. Just how much of an unscrupulous corporate whore do you have to be? The whole idea is that they file these things. Among the things they can do to you is that they'll leave your video up, but they'll funnel all your revenue, all your ad revenue, to the claimant. No trial, no examination. It's completely automated. So these people are copyright trolls. What they're doing is they set up the machines up, and they scan through they got these computers that scan through YouTube videos all day and all night and look for something that's similar enough to their algorithms. They can say copyright violation, and it auto files a copyright violation claim. And YouTube, being a bunch of lazy bastards, auto files right back. No problem. Here's your money. So basically, the actual content creators on the internet are cheated out of revenue they have rightfully earned. And it's a few dollars here and a few dollars there, but you do it often enough, and you find a few thousand or a few 10,000 artists out there that you can pull this on, and they don't take the time to and they don't know, and they don't take the time to file a protest against it. Too bad, so sad. And the greedy, greedy copyright troller pulls in all the money. It's no skin off of YouTube's nose, at least not yet. This hasn't happened to me yet. My websites, my videos don't generate revenue. Period. They don't generate ad revenue. They're too, the audience is like 10 people. So they just, but there are people out there. This is their living. There are people out there. This has become their living, and YouTube is screwing them over, or rather, YouTube is letting these companies screw them over, and doesn't care. What do they care? You know, YouTube gets their money, and to hell with to heck with the luckless little bastard who's making it possible for them. This is dirtbag practices, and they get away with it because why? Because there's no alternative out. There's no real alternative out there yet to YouTube. No, nobody's making an effort to make a new YouTube out there, and there's a couple of little rinky-tinky things out there that are basically laughable, like Vimeo. But right now, they're the 500-pound gorillas sitting in the middle of the room doing whatever they darn well please, and it's all the people that are, it's being done for political reasons. It's being done, the conservative, there's a lot of people, eccentrics and Fruit Loops out there that are getting shafted too, but they came for the Fruit Loops, and I didn't say anything because I didn't think I was a Fruit Loop. And then they came for me, and nobody was left to say anything. You get that story. They have been cheating out. Ever since Google took over YouTube, it's been dirty pool from every day of the week against anybody who produces conservative content. And they don't really have to do anything. They just have to drag their heels about it. They have to just drag their heels about doing anything, and eventually people give up and go away. That's what they count on. People, I remember when, the internet first, people used to go, information wants to be free and all this other stuff. They basically had the belief, almost childlike belief that the nature of the internet would make censorship almost impossible. And it makes it a lot harder, let's be honest with that. As one guy put it, the internet defines censorship as a digital error and roots around it. Yeah, and so long as the system is fairly free, yeah, that's the case. But there are people that are working day and night, chipping away at the foundations of it, day and night, because they're remorseless little bastards. They're remorseless, amoral, utterly evil, soulless. They all have a diversity of personal reasons. Some of them are doing it for money. Some of these corporate companies, these ISPs are doing it because they're chipping away at the internet because they don't like how they don't control it. They want to cheat people. They want to charge people more for less service. And then you have some people that are doing it, for political reasons, because they don't like the fact that the internet has been the major, it's been the way it's the existence of the internet that has burst the narrative like a soap bubble. I hear these people talking all the time. They're saying, "Oh, well, you get on the internet, and you can, and they're talking about how you get on the internet and you'll isolate yourselves from opposing opinion." Have you ever? These people have have either never been on the internet, or they are in a state of willful cognitive dissonance, a state of self-hypnotized ignorance, to imagine that going on the internet hides you from alternative opinions. You have to be stupid as a canned ham to think that back in the day, you could trust the newspapers. You moron. You have to be dumber than I'm going to repeat it. I'll say it over again. You have to be dumber than a canned ham to think that you were more informed back in the day when all you had was 3 TV channels and half a dozen national newspapers, all of whom were run by the same tiny clique of people. And you're given the internet, where literally everybody is able to come out to the world and have a voice, where you can check 1,000 sources and you can fact check everyone. Everyone gets fact checked on the internet. Even the so-called pillars of the internet community, like Wikipedia and what's Snopes, they're getting fact checked. And they tried to pass themselves off as, the final word on certain things. It didn't pan out that way, did it? Back in the glory days when you could trust the internet, when you could trust the newspapers, you could never trust the newspapers, okay? You never could trust the newspapers. Even 100 years ago, the newspapers were just as slanted and biased and gossip mongering bunch of sons of bleeps that you could imagine. In fact, there's one of the things we learned in history that they used false reports from the newspapers to start wars. As I recall, what was it? The sinking of the Remember the Maine. It's been years since I remember since this history lesson in high school. But as I recall, the Spanish-American War. Was it the Spanish-American War? The Mexican? Well, a major conflict was struck off between America and oh man, now my memories decide to take a flying leap. But there was a ship got sank. It exploded, and the newspapers were out ahead of the truth by a few miles, and told everybody that another country had sunk the boat. Surprise, that was not the case. Apparently, the Maine was carrying a load of fertilizer, which, yeah, well, if it's stored improperly, can become inflammable and even explosive. Kaboom, down she goes. Anyway, it was the same song and dance. It's always been that way. We now live in a day and age where the entire civilized world and a good portion of the uncivilized world is connected by the internet, and where anybody can drag the skeletons out of the closet out into the street for the entire world to see. You realize that President Bush, George W. Bush, there were people in the mainstream media that were conspiring to get him impeached, just like they did with Reagan, just like they did with the first Bush. This is just like they are doing with Trump. They're obstructing the running of the government. So they can play these silly ass games. Well, they tried to get W accused of President George W. Bush was in the military back like in the what was it, the 60s and 70s, decades ago, and they tried to claim that he had gone AWOL at one point, and the military had covered it up, and they came out with a fake memo to that effect. If it, before the internet, that would have been the gospel truth, and it would have remained the gospel truth for 50 years, up to a century, before somebody finally came out, dug out the papers, and discovered, hey, this is bogus. Dan Rather came out with that fake memo, and before they broadcasted the news on the East Coast that morning, and before it broadcasted on the West Coast that same day, before that same broadcast went out on the West Coast that same day, somebody who was an expert in typesetting came out on the internet and proved that it was bogus. That among other things, the layout was incorrect for a internal memo from the government. Completely wrong. And also that the font that was in this supposed memo hadn't even existed back until 1980. And to clinch it all, the guy that was pointing out this bogus stuff, he made up a fake version. He made up a duplicate of the memo in what was it, in Word, Microsoft Word, and it matched perfectly. So he demonstrated, and then they pointed out then everybody started noticing that, among other things, that Dan Rather's little piece of evidence wasn't an actual memo. It was a fax that some anonymous tipster had sent in. Basically, the truth came out before the day was out. Heads rolled. They tried to spare Dan at first by running around and firing all his interns and crap, and all the people under him. They weren't, they didn't do the fact checking like they were supposed to. I thought Dan Rather was the news reporter, not these poor schmucks that were working for him. But anyway, he took an early retirement in a few weeks after that, and thus endeth the glorious imperial career of Dan the Almighty Rather. Word of gospel truth on the press. You can trust the media. I want you to think about this. Think about this. If it hadn't been for the existence of the internet at that time, if this happened in the 90s, if it hadn't been for the existence of the internet, Dan Rather would have gotten away with it. President George W. Bush's reputation would have been ruined, and his political career might have ended right there. Think about that. So don't be telling me that we were so much better off back when we had the regular, we only had a couple of trusted newspapers, like you gullible sucker. No matter how crappy the past was, there's always somebody out there willing to sing the praises of it. It gets old, it gets tired, it gets sick, it gets to be a waste. Wasting our times, wasting our lives. I get so tired. I've talked about this. I get so tired of hearing older folks talking about how horrible and rotten children are today. I remember this one set me off. I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything, but man, did I think a lot. Little old lady, God bless her. She's a sweet little old lady. Generally speaking, I have all the respect in the world for the woman. But she was going off when around the holiday seasons at my dad's church, and it's after the church service, and everybody standing around chewing the fat, before they all wandered off to whatever they're going to do the rest of the Sunday, and she was going on about how, oh, back when I was children are so horribly greedy now. Back when we were children, we got an orange and an apple and maybe a peppermint stick, and we were just happy with it. And oh yeah, and we weren't so greedy and covetous. And you lying. You lie. You lie to yourself. You lie in the mirror. You had the Sears catalog. You had the Sears catalog. We know what you all are up to. Back in Pioneer days, yeah, they'd go back in Pioneer days. You'd go out to the outhouse, sit there and read the Sears catalog while you did your business, and wish you had the money for everything on the pages. You got these people who think that being poor was some sort of instant virtue ticket. Oh, we didn't need no Nintendos when we were your age. Back when you were our age, you didn't even have... If you'd have had Nintendos when you were our age, you would have been all over that like white on rice. White on rice. I ain't kidding you. The kids back when the kids back when our parents when our parents were kids, they were just like us. They were just like they're just like us. They're just like our kids today. They're just like our grandkids today. They were no better. And in fact, I know some stories that some of the things that those kids back in my parents' would do would set your hair on end. They're out there doing things that I would have. My dad telling stories of things that he and his friends got up to. And I'm sitting there turning white as a sheet, trying to imagine myself to even have the guts to try it. Like if I'd have done something like that back then, he would have killed me. No, don't be gassing me up with this stuff. Don't be gassing me up. Yeah, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. I get so incredibly tired of listening to older people sing the saintly virtues, of their generation. When I was your age, you were just as full of crap as we are. Go on. We weren't as depraved as kids are. We've got photos of Woodstock, okay? We've seen Woodstock. We know what you were like. We know what your generation was like. Get out of my face. Pull the other one. It plays Jingle Bells. Trying to take a day. Trying to. This is me trying to take one day and just do at least a couple of the regular strips. Uh, 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 in my Facebook, still got good old Pedro making stumping for the socialist way, the one true way of utopia, and I've just been telling people, don't feed the troll. He's got nothing to say. You can sit there. You can sit there. He's a grown man. He's supposed to be a grown man. He's supposed to be a grown man. He is old enough to have seen the collapse of the Soviet Union, of the collapse of socialist state after socialist state after Marxist state. He has seen the results of socialism let run amok. You got the European Union is basically a dumpster fire because of it. I mean, we got Venezuela right now. Venezuela. They were up and cupping crazy rich country, and then they voted in a socialist regime, and the next thing you know, they're picking through the trash for food. Their cities are dark, and they're drinking sewer water. They're ladling water out of the sewer system, just 'cause that's all they got. It's a hellhole. It's not to repeat myself too much, but it's a dumpster fire. And it's all because they went socialist, and they had oil. They are an oil-producing country. They should be as rich as Croesus. The government confiscated their oil fields and everything else, and just took over and turned it into the quote shit show it is today. And this dumbass is coming. Oh, they aren't really. It wasn't really socialism and that caused all this. This is a man who would find elephant shit on his carpet and try and blame it on the dog. It wasn't really socialism that did this. It wasn't, socialism wasn't because of all their problems. And, these are the countries over here, it wasn't socialism that's making them great. And, and on and on and on and on and on. My girlfriend doesn't have gonorrhea. She just has some really unusual crotch tattoos. I hope you went, ew. I hope you went, this is the same attitude I have about socialism. I told him, Pedro, there are people that, shut up and go away. There are people drinking sewer water in Venezuela because of people like you. Your fairy tale fantasy has impoverished entire nations and killed people. But no matter how many times you bite down on that sandwich and find out it's full of turds. You keep coming back for more and insisting everybody else should try it too. I'm so sick of these people. I'm sick of these people. These, you've gone beyond the point where you can discuss things with them, where you can reason with them, where you can reach them, where you can make them understand. No, this isn't the way you can wish as hard as you can, but that is not going to change what is. I don't know why I'm surprised we live in a day and age where people out there, with absolute sincerity, are proclaiming themselves members of the Flat Earth Society. Their feelings matter more than any facts on the ground ever will. And the idea of everybody, the idea of the government taking care of everybody and everybody getting an equal share no matter what happens, it's la-di-da-di-da-di-da. It gives them all sorts of warm, fuzzy feelings. It is like peeing your pants. Gives it a nice warm feeling. But it does nothing but stink up the room. And the thing of it is that these morons like Pedro, they're never the ones that pay the price. They're never the ones that pay the price. I remember P.J. O'Rourke. He's a satirist. He started out as a hardcore lefty. He was a hippie. 1960s dope smoking, tear down the establishment fiend. And he grew up hard. He had reality, just pimp slap the hell out of him. And he's now a very famous conservative. He's 1,000 times more famous and successful as a conservative writer, because he's been there and seen the elephant. He knows exactly what's going on with this nonsense. And he went down to Central America. There were countries that were voting, and he went down there, and there was, I forget which country it was. It was trying to vote the socialists out of office and vote a more democratic, capitalist, free government in. And he said there was more people from America down there. The Birkenstock crowd, the ones with the hippies with the receding hairlines and the strap-on sandals. Out there, supporting the cause of the people, which happened to be the Socialist Party that had been running the Banana Republic forever. And they were going to save this little countries from the evil of capitalism, And the people they lost. The socialists lost hard. The people voted in a democratic government. And he said all the Birkenstock crowd was out. We don't know what happened. What went wrong? How did we fail? And it's because the people weren't buying your crap. It didn't matter what was going to happen. These people were going to get back on their little rust bucket plane, fly back north when it was all over. So they were going all the way to this other country to bugger up their government and turn it into the socialist fairy tale dumpster fire that they planned for America. They figured they'd pull it off on somebody else. But no matter what happened, they were going to go back and fly back to California and go back to living in the living off the luxuries of a free society. While they left these Central American people to suffer the consequences of their socialist utopia fantasy. Socialists never want to go and live in the fairy tale world that they want to invent. They want everybody else. You know, they don't want to take everybody to hell in a handbasket. They want to have us hop in the basket and go there ourselves while they stay back here. And anytime decent people go off to try and establish a life for themselves someplace, these people will be stampeding to the border to try and screw it up for all. As when there was one post I saw, is one of the Birkenstock crowd is like, why don't you gun-toting rednecks, why don't you gun-toting capitalist rednecks go off and start your own country someplace? And one guy's just, boom, first response, we did. Who the hell invited you in? It's like, boom, no survivors. Crap. You'll have to excuse me. Got a problem with my front door. Namely, it won't stay shut. The latch on it's broken. I've got to take a hammer and do some percussive maintenance here. I'll be right back and enjoy the music while it's going on. This just in from our local desk. My front door is a broken piece of crap. I'm gonna have to duct tape it to keep it shut. Because, well, like I said, it's crap. I haven't got the pieces and bits and crap to fix it properly or even improperly. Well, that was my exercise for today. Banging on my door frame, scaring the crap out of the neighbors. Lady was walking her dog outside. I was going to ask her to kick the bottom of the door. Sort of, help jam it shut. I called out to her. She's not even 20 feet away. Not even 10 feet away. Excuse me, ma'am? Ma'am? She pretended not to hear me. Pretended not to hear me and walked off. With her little damn rat dog. Come on, Fluffy. I'm not in a gracious mood right now. I know I look like a horror show right now, but doggone. At least say hello and say, just don't ignore me. That just last straw right there. Yeah, she got one of them little yappy dogs. No matter how many yaps at the same thing, she's been walking that thing around this lot for 5-10 years. It still barks at inanimate objects on its way. It's seen it 10,000 times before. You expect to remember it now? Oh, rodent dogs. Look like somebody took a rat and glued a dust mop to it. I'm in a mean mood. Having a cold snap come in and not being able to shut your darn front door properly, that'll put you in a mood. Another layer of the fake wood paneling that's on everything peeled off of it while I was working on it. I mean, the whole door peeled off like a scab, and oh, what the heck. Just not up for this nonsense right now, Just really not up for it. Really not up for having people be rude to me. door frame, my whole house is bent, okay? And it's off plumb, everything's off plumb, and the door frames are bent, both door frames, so the doors don't shut properly, and the wood is warped. The crap wood they use to make these, just the weather is warped, and the metal's bent, and the doorknobs aren't fastened right. They don't close right. I have to resort to tying them shut. So well, at least the back door I have to resort to tying shut. Now the front door won't shut right. Usually when a delivery by, I have somebody deliver something, one of the things I ask, could you kick the bottom of the door? Once I close it, would you kick the bottom of the door? Because that, wedges it in place so it doesn't pop open whenever the house creaks. And, well, now it won't stay shut. It's shut, it's wedged shut right now, but I give it about, until I'm not paying attention. Then it's gonna pop open. I'm gonna have to go out there and do something else to it to get it to shut again. And there it goes. There it goes. I'm just at the end of my rope here. Okay, give me a minute. Got a couple other ideas I'm going to try.
And I return. It's a piece of crap, and it's a couple of screws and a piece of crappy chain just to hold it shut, but that'll do for now. Gonna have to get me one of them I forget what kind of latch I forget what the latch is called, what kind it's called. I have to get one of these big clunky latches, or get a couple of pieces of hardware, make up a latch for the front door. If I could, I'd just get me like a, make it so I just get a 2x4 and a couple of notches, just get a medieval style chunk. Ain't nobody gonna kick that door down. But what I got up there at least will hold it closed against the wind for now. I haven't started my taxes yet. I haven't started my tax papers yet, because despite everything I learned, I'm afraid of the results. I'm afraid to see the results. After what everybody did and what everybody went through, and everybody helping me out, and what I had to go through the last year just to zero out my taxes. And I already know I'm behind on my rent again, and I'm going to be having to send extra large payments for the next. If I send them $300 a month, that's going to take me. My lot rent is about $225, so 75 extra dollars a month, 50. Well, call it 50 extra dollars a month. It's going to take me. Well, I'm going to be like this forever. I am. I've been calling the Social Security Center, just trying to check up with the guy that's supposed to be processing my disability claim. I've called him, left messages, hasn't gotten back to me yet. Well, it's this week. I called him Friday, and I'm waiting. It's going to be Monday before I even have a chance of hearing from him. I'm just going to have to keep calling. I think I've reached an age. I think I've reached a point where I can no longer pretend. I'm a hypocrite. I'm a hypocrite because I've spent my life advocating, independence and self-reliance, and not being reliant on the government for anything. And here I am. I'm looking to get on the dole. The Social Security dole. I'm a hypocrite in other ways too. I'll be honest with this Pedro guy. I used to be, you gotta let all views be expressed and espoused, and freedom of speech and all that. But I reached, I reached that decades. I reached that over a decade ago. I'd get sick of people spouting off in my forums or in my chat rooms, and I'd be like, bye. I'm not even going to pretend to justify it anymore. It came down to me just being tired of listening to him. I made a point once. It reached a point where every year, I did an annual unbanning of everybody, just for the sake of it. Of course, there were some people who came back. They were just unbelievably unsufferable, regardless, and they ended up going on the forget them forever list. One fellow by the name of back when we first stumbled across me, he was known as Archaeopteryx. That was his handle, exactly as it's spelled. And now he calls himself Archie something. Just as big a leftist fathead as he always was. And he rant and rave about how, you know, I'd ban him from talking. I don't care. I don't reach the point. I don't care. I don't care if if I'm not being a proper example of democracy anymore. I'm too beat down. I'm too tired. I just don't give a crap anymore. And that's a sad state of affairs of who I am. This is way too loud. Don't know why they do that. Oh, just my usual slide into psychotic depression. Is there such a thing as psychotic depression? I don't know. But in many regards, I'm a hypocrite. I feel I'm a hypocrite. I claim to believe in fair representation of all views. When somebody on my I get sick of somebody on my forum spouting some drivel I can't stand. Boom, gone. If I'm, I advocate a libertarian view of society, a Christian libertarian view, and yet here I am on food stamps and looking to get on Social Security disability. I still press advocacy. If it weren't for welfare and Social Security disability, I probably wouldn't need them. They're a self-propagating disease. Because you suck the money out of somebody's pocket on a regular basis for their entire working life, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. and then give them back the equivalent of a quarter of what they gave you, if that. And is it any wonder they need they need financial help at that point? After the government's through sucking them dry of everything except old man votes. Think about it. If people weren't paying mountains and mountains of taxes, I would have more. First of all, I would have more work. More people would be commissioning things, and more. And I would have an easier time setting money aside. We would all have an easier time setting money aside. So that's the thing about welfare pro. You can't. This is one of the problems with most of the economic theory. You can't measure factories you didn't build, jobs you didn't create, money you didn't make. So many models of economics run on the broken window fallacy. The idea being, imagine little Timmy throws a rock through the window of the local bakery. And people are the baker's about to tear a new strip off his hide. And along comes some guy and talks to the baker and says, well, look at it this way. By breaking that window, he's created so much work. The street sweeper's going to have to clean up the glass. That means he gets paid. And then there's somebody who's going to have to make the window, and he's going to have to get paid. And he goes off on this list about all the businesses that are going to benefit, and the baker falls for it. The problem is that in all the talking, everybody forgets the money that the baker spends on replacing that broken window is money he could have spent on baking bread. Money he could have spent on paying his employees. And on down the line. You hear about this, this tornado. You hear these things, an earthquake or a tornado or something tears through. All these businesses are doing great. A hurricane comes through, rips everybody's roof off. The roofing company is doing marvelously. One man noted that so many economists are such terrible predictors of economics because they don't know how to subtract. Anyway. All that wait and all that delay for something that simplistic. These comics, just I got no excuse. I got no excuse. No, I do. Don't know why I went to all that trouble. I could have just done this. I'm 48 years old. I'm 48 years old. I have been on this earth just shy of 5 decades, half a century. And that's not much time. That's really not. The thing of it is that in those 48 years, I have seen so many ideas come and go and come right back again. It ceased to be funny decades ago. I am old enough to remember in the 1970s when they were convinced we were going to have a new ice age. Okay. I remember all that nonsense before global warming. I remember, I am old enough to remember when they were convinced that the ozone layer was going to disappear, or that it was only going to be, just a few sputtery little clouds of it, invisible clouds of it left by the 1990s. I'm old enough to remember that. I'm old enough to remember that. I'm old enough to remember. I'm old enough to remember the Carter administration and all the stupidity of that era.
I'm old enough to remember all the things they did back then that they're trying to do over again now. I remember that the country was just so thrashed and sick of Carter. I was only a little boy in grade school, but the American people were sick of Carter. Obama wasn't the first jug-eared idiot on the White House, let me tell you that. And I remember how happy people were to have Reagan. I remember how Reagan was reelected in a flippin' landslide. The other guy, Mondale, might as well have just stayed home. I remember I remember both Bush administrations. And I remember how the first Bush administration disappointed me vastly during the Tiananmen Square incident. I remember all 8 years of Clinton and all 8 years of you know of Obama. They not come up with anything new. If you're a socialist, if you're a leftist, if you're a if and if you call yourself a moderate, you're a leftist. Okay, give it up. You do not win any points with me by calling yourself a moderate. And all that says to me is, oh, you're a leftist. You just don't have the courage of your convictions. I remember all the nonsense that we're dealing with now. I remember the variations we had when I was a boy, and when I was a teenager, and when I was in high school and college, and after college, and the same crap they shoveled back then, they're shoveling now. Nothing's changed. And I'll tell you this one, a lot of the stuff I fell for, I was young, I was dumb. A lot of the environmental fear mongering and worry warding and misinformation and outright lies, I gulped it down like any other dumb kid. Then I started hearing alternatives
I started hearing dissenting voices. The first one was Rush Limbaugh. That was a major voice out there. I mean, my parents did their best to educate me, in basic common sense. And by and large, that. But there was Rush Limbaugh was coming out and saying things nobody in television or radio was saying or would dare say. And it says something that people were afraid to say. No, the world is not going to have an environmental catastrophe. No, the rainforest is not disappearing. No, neither are the ice caps or the polar bears. And no, this social program and that social program don't work. And no, it's not the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Everybody, in fact, is getting richer, and there are becoming fewer poor people every year. And no, it's not because they're dying out or being hunted for sport by rich people. And it took me a while, and I started hearing, and think about it, the dissenting opinion of the day only survived because of AM radio. If it hadn't been for Rush Limbaugh starting up on AM radio, God knows where it would be. I'm sorry. Started to let myself drift off again. Where was I? Where was I? Oh yeah. Oh, I've heard the same stories so many times. If it isn't global warming, it's global cooling. If it isn't global cooling, it's climate change. If it isn't the penguins dying out, it's the polar bears. If it's if it isn't the rainforest disappearing, it's the coastlines sinking beneath the waves. And you come back and you show that every prediction they made has not come through ever. That they've never been right, and that their forecasts for the future are therefore, at the very best, clouded. You may be able to touch, this just not going about it. And there I go again. I'm starting to drift off again. Um, this is why this month has been so slow. Anytime I try to sit down and work, anytime I try to sit down, I just start draining of energy so fast. I'm just tired all the time. Uh, at least I can say that. So, ouch. See here. Broadcasting the images? Yes, we're broadcasting the images. Mm.
Mm. This is very frustrating. It doesn't take very long for me to run to the end of my tank. This is why I immediately went online with this right now, just as when normally I want to wait until the evening to run, because I was already tanking out. Just, oh, damaged defenders, men and women are equal. Let me put my perspective on this, okay? Uh, Men and women should be treated with equal fairness. You know, I was fine with the movement for equal treatment. Uh, the society started falling apart when they started to regard it as racist and sexist to say that everybody should be treated the same and that we should all work by the same rules. What it is that people that were pushing this movement did not want equality. They wanted all the good shit. To quote Bill, they didn't, they wanted to treat uh, they wanted to treat it all like a salad bar. I like this, I take that. I'll say, oh, that's icky. You can keep that. Yeah. No. What's more, they wanted us to pretend that people were equal in certain areas in ways which we are not. No matter how hard you pretend. This is how you got these people who are so batshit crazy. They think if they pretend real hard, they'll stop having a PP. And they want everybody else to, clap their hands and wish along with them. What do you do with such people? They didn't want equality. That was what damaged the equality movement in the '60s. The majority of people wanted to be treated fairly. They wanted equality before the law. The problem is that they took it too far. It's one thing to demand that the government-run schools provide equal access to everybody, regardless of their race or gender, because the government is supposed to be a service provided to all of us. It's when they started demanding that private citizens be coerced into serving people they didn't want to. I've stated this before. The amazing thing, the incredible irony of a movement by ex-slaves to give themselves the power to force other people to serve them against their will. Yes, it was. We live in a time where we look back at these signs. They had no colored people allowed in this restaurant. Yeah, we find that disgusting. We find that terrible. But what we forgot is that the point of a free society is that nobody is to be anybody else's slave. When you give the government the authority to force another person to serve somebody they don't want to, You're just advocating another form of slavery. And it enrages you and disgusts you and angers you that those horrible, horrible bigots got away with it. Well, I'm not too particularly happy with it either. You know how you punish a business that engages in behavior you find deplorable? Hey, guess what? It's a real simple process. You stop buying their crap, and you encourage your friends and your acquaintances to be the same way. These people. You go out there and you say these people. These people are absolutely terrible towards people of color for no good reason. These people over here, they're bad. They refuse to serve women. They refuse to serve black people. They refuse to serve Jews. They refuse to do that. They're horrible people. Let's not make them rich. And you go, but what if they get a lot of customers to keep them open? Well, there you go. Congratulations. You've got one store where all the people you don't like are shopping, so you know where not to shop. And over here, there'll be another store open that will serve people with your beliefs and opinions. And congratulations, a beautiful circle of life thing. If their ethical principles and their morals are truly, genuinely offensive to society, society will reject them too. If society is free to move and do such a thing. This notion of but we reach a point where we reach a point in society where the idea of letting people you don't like live their lives in peace is repugnant. What does that tell you? We reach a point where the whole point of civilization is to arrange things so that people who don't particularly like each other can still function and get along, and work as a civilization. Great, they're racist, they're a-holes. That does not give they're racist, they're sexist, they're homophobe, whatever you decide makes them an a-hole. But so long as they are not raising a hand to you, they should be left in peace. As long as they are not stealing bread from your mouth or committing actual harm to you, and no, your hurt feelings don't count. If they are not actually doing harm to you, they should be left in peace to be a-holes in their own private domain. Freedom of association means the right to choose who you will and will not associate with, and that the rest of society has no right to dictate who you can and cannot hang out with. And they're not allowed to come up and say that you have to hang out with these people. You know, this ethnicity or this race or this creed or this gender identity or anything else or any other reason. It's this sort of nonsense that keeps racism and sexism, actual racism and sexism going. Because you're taking your principles and cramming them down people's throats. And then people react predictably to that. And the only result has been that the very least damage it has done is the fact that the truly virulent racists have learned to keep it covert. Or let me put it this way: how stupid do you have to be to try and force somebody you think is poisonously hateful towards you? How stupid do you have to be to decide that you want to force them to bake a birthday cake for you? Can you imagine? Can you imagine yourself doing that in grade school or kindergarten or high school or grade school or however you want to put whatever age group? Coming in front of the class saying you want the school bully to be forced to bake a cake for you. And they do it. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't want you wouldn't want the school bully anywhere near your lunch. And here we are. And the only reason they're doing this kind of thing right now to Christians, where they're hunting down Christians who've taken a moral stand that they're not going to participate in the depraved, ungodly things people get up to in this society. They're hunting them down, forcing them at legal gunpoint to participate. To paraphrase a very well-spoken conservative Republican by the name of Martin Luther King Jr., the purpose of the law that they were looking for, the purpose of the law was not supposed to make a man love you. It was supposed to keep him from lynching you, which was kind of important. But it's not supposed to be out there to try and force people to agree with everything you believe in and want to do. And it's not supposed to make them love you. And it's not supposed to force them to participate in things they find morally abhorrent. You're thinking that a person should be allowed to go out there, and run a store and not let black people shop there and run around saying, "No, I'm not going to let no niggers shop at my store." You thinking they should be allowed to put up "No niggers allowed outside"? Is that what you're saying? I'm saying, yeah. Allow me to submit to you the concept that such a system is marvelously self-policing. Letting the bigots self-identify. It's a marvelously self-correcting system. If they are permitted to behave as their conscience dictates, then guess what? Nobody will shop there. And hence the bigot and his bigoted business will go out of business. And if they don't go out of business, great. You've got a store where all the bigots hang out, and you know not to go there. And the non-bigoted store will do even better. And we're all happy because now, great. You got to go over there who's got a sandwich counter, has a sign that says, "No, whatever you are is allowed." Congratulations, now you know not to eat there. And you can go about your day happy in the fact that you know that whoever made your sandwich didn't spit in it. All these people that come up with these coercive systems for forcing the right way to think, it boils down to they don't want their ideas tested in the open marketplace. They don't want anybody's ideas tested in the open marketplace because they know that their ideas would crash and burn. That's a bumbletwit. Come on my comment section. I have a passage I talk about is in the Warcrafter. I'm sorry, I can't help but think of somebody like this as a bumbletwit because they come in there and they said that the Nazis weren't socialist. The Nazis were. That's historical revisionism. I was like, it was in their name. It was in their name. That's what the term Nazi is, an abbreviation for the German words for National Socialist. Well, they opposed the communists. They opposed the communists. Yeah, because the communists were the only ones to the left of them. They needed a they needed a scapegoat, and by attacking the the farthest left out there, they could pose themselves as being, quote, more conservative and more nationalistic. That was the only difference between National Socialism and regular Marxism, is that it was tied up in the idea of a national identity, rather than in the idea of this great universal utopia, which is what Marx was after. Classless society without states or borders. That was the only real difference. Oh, spasms in my foot. Oh, spasms of pain. That hurts like the dickens. Ow. It's what can what can you do? There's nothing you can do. Good. It all comes down to they keep selling the same stuff over and over and over again. Look, they pushed through. They used the '60s, genuinely good thing, a demand for equal treatment before the law for all races, and they turned it into what it is today. Privilege combat. They turned it into a system to chisel. They turned it into a system for chiseling, for special privileges, for specific favored groups. It's just so tiring. Is that for most of the last 48 years, I have spent arguing with people about things that are self-evident, and I have dragged the same evidence up over and over and over again. It's the same story every time. It's every 5, 10, 20 years, they'll recycle all the crap ideas that they failed to market before. And every decade or so, they get a little bit more of what they want. They push it through. Just a little bit more every time, and every couple of days, it's a losing battle. Society wakens up to the insanity they're pumping and comes out and says, "No more. We've had our fill. Go back to your Go back to your cage, you crazy creature." and every time they've managed to do a little bit more damage, push society to a little bit further to the left. Things that we were laughing at as ridiculous scenarios in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, they're the truth today. Back in the 1960s, we put a man on the moon. Today, we can't convince them that they can't figure out which bathroom to go to. Come on, what is this? and they don't care about you bring out the proofs to them that their ideas do not work, and it does not work. It costs a fortune and it kills people. This the trifecta of socialist leftist ideology. It doesn't work. It costs the world and it kills people. Perfection in their eyes. And you bring these things out, and they ignore you. They stare at the evidence like a cow at an oncoming train, and then they turn right back around. And it's time to go back to the barn. Moo. And the very next day, they're out there trying to sell the same stuff over again, as if nobody said anything, as if nobody showed them, as if we didn't see the Soviet Union collapse, as if we didn't see the hell hole that was behind the Iron Curtain when it came down, as if we didn't see what totalitarian states do to their people, and how communism mesticizes into tyrannical governance. You get tyrannical hellholes from communist ideals the same way you get an oak tree from an acorn. These are the same sins that have been sold to man ever since the snake came down out of the tree with an apple in its mouth. Nothing new. New Nip and Tuck finally posted. The enthusiasm is underwhelming. Let's see. Yeah. Somebody's ribbing the EU. Why, the same people that are getting, I love how the same people who are mocking Great Britain for exiting the EU are now flipping out because the EU passed another stupid law that's going to impede things on the internet. This so-called meme restriction, this meme law. It's supposed to, it's another one of those to protect copyright things, and it's a load of horse crap. I bet you some of those memes were starting to embarrass certain politicians, and they tried to find a way to shut them up. That's my guess on it. Yeah, Article 13. I want to grab these people who are mocking the Brexit and just grab them by their big stupid jug ears and shake them and just bang their heads against the monitor. See the Article 13 there? See the Article 13 there? That's why Great Britain wants to leave. Because your European Union utopia is a dumpster fire. It's a bunch of failing nations chaining themselves together so that they will drag everybody else down with them. Saw a thing in the news, a guy out west, he's being fined. I forget what state. Oregon. He is being fined, and the government's coming after him because he collected rainwater. And by the laws of Oregon, rainwater is government property. And everybody's like, the apologists are coming out. Oh well, he had a reservoir. He did. The guy he built a reservoir on his property. Something like I forget how. Something like 1 million gallons. And he was taking the rainwater off the roofs of his buildings and putting it into this huge reservoir. And the apologists were going, well, it's just blah 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 blah, and I'm like, explain to me how it's more acceptable that the government was seizing something huge as opposed to seizing something small. It's not. It's stupid. He's not obstructing a waterway or anything. He's taking rainwater that fell on his land. And you got other states that are trying to find, they're trying to write up new taxes where you can tax people based on how arable their land is. How much rainwater it's estimated to absorb. They want to charge people for. They want to punish people for having wells too. There was one guy, he completely disconnected from. They made it a crime. There was one woman. She had a house. She was off the grid. She had her own. She didn't have city water, and she didn't want it. She had a well. She didn't need it. And so they wrote up new laws and made her a criminal. You see, this is why a society needs to take its politicians out and shoot them every few years. Because voting for the bastards just encourages them. We're way past the point where our forefathers would have seceded. Violently. Freedom is lost so easily. It's lost a piece at a time. In the shadows, out in the dark when nobody's paying attention. Way over here, some guy loses his property because the local community declared it a preserve for Bigfoot. Out over here, some couple loses their land because their property got declared a wetland in the middle of a desert. Over here, a man living in yet another, out in Arizona, realizes that a watered lawn is a waste of water, so he plants desert plants in his yard, and basically makes a rock garden out front in his house, of his house, and the homeowners association, with the backing of the law, throws fines and fees at him for it because he doesn't have a properly watered lawn in a desert during a water shortage. In our nation's capital, they sign new asset forfeiture laws that make it perfectly legal for the government to seize everything you own under the suspicion that you have been selling marijuana. Not even any proof necessary, no conviction necessary. In fact, you can be found innocent of any wrongdoing and still lose everything because they're not required to give it back. They can take your money from you. If a drug-sniffing dog smells drugs, and guess what? Nearly every dollar bill in this country has been handled by a dope dealer at some point. Freedom disappearing, one tiny little candlelight at a time, being snuffed out. Entire communities being stolen. Entire communities losing their land and their homes and their property, having it stolen from them by the government in the name of eminent domain, for no better reason that the corporations that want to move in the area would pay more taxes. The never-ending greed of government. No matter how much tax money you give them, we give them trillions, and it's still not enough. They still spend more every year than the country even makes, and it's our fault for not providing more for them. to blow. That's the hell of being a conservative and a libertarian and a Christian, because you know it could be better, and you know that the government and society, the economy and everything would thrive, and you also know that it's never going to be allowed to happen. That those in power will fight it tooth and nail to the day they die. Meanwhile, we got people by the millions who will go out and march to try and establish, to try and give the government more power, to make us, the socialist utopia that their horse-faced leader, occasional cortex, fantasizes about. Bong water drinking lunatic. Every year is an ordeal for me. Every April 15th is a exercise in desperation to try and cover for a tax that nobody should be paying in the first place. Federal income tax shouldn't exist. Social Security tax should not exist. This entire country, up until the 1920s, we ran fine. We had schools, hospitals, roads, government services, an army. Hello. We had everything a thriving nation needed. We didn't have an IRS, and we didn't have a Federal Reserve, and we didn't have income tax. And the entire country got by on less than 2/3 of what it blows now. We could easily get down to less than that if we got rid of all the entitlement programs that are sucking the blood out of this country. But it's not going to happen. It's never, ever going to happen. And that is the hell of being a conservative. Being an informed, knowledgeable, woke, aware, awake, and logical thinking human being. To be aware of exactly what's wrong, and also to be just as aware that hell will freeze over before those in power allow it to be changed. I don't know why I'm so angry all the time right now. Well, I just listed off all the reasons but I don't know why my fuse is so short. I don't know why everything is so close to the surface right now. All these things, all the 10,000 things of life that are frustrating. Normally we set them aside. They make us angry when we think about them, but we generally manage to get through a day not thinking about them. But right now, it feels like everything is just an inch, just a tenth of an inch under the surface of the skin. It's a very, of course, I kind of suspect that the reason that when I get the reason I get off on these political rants is just to because I'm trying to distract myself from my own personal problems and stresses. I got enough personal issues for TV Guide. You know what I'm saying? So uh, this is one of the things growing old, seeing the same mistakes made over and over and over again. What's more, you know what's worse than seeing people make the same mistakes over and over and over again? Having the same stupid people come to you over and over and over again and try to get you to help them make the same stupid mistakes over and over and over again. Reaching for some air. Let me get this, pull this out of there. Getting my bath a bit chilly in here. Blasted weather. It's March, doggone it. It's supposed to be spring. It's supposed to be practically balmy by now. It's going to be even colder next year. You know it. You know it, and I know it. Oh, it's great to be growing old as this new cold ice age dips in. I wish it was global warming. I wish it was global warming. I could live with the world turning into a nice balmy global warm period as I slide into my old age. I could stand Florida weather in Ohio. I'm not going to be that fortunate, no. Just going to be longer and longer winters and more tempestuous summers. If anybody tries to push that global warming crap on you, ask them a couple of questions. Ask them, what's the temperature supposed to be? They don't know. They have no idea. They have no metric by which they measure, where it's supposed to be. Well, it's not supposed to be here. Yeah, well, where is it supposed to be? They don't know what the weather is supposed to be like. And that should be the end of the argument right there. That should be enough to end the debate. But it's not. And just I need a new bathrobe. I've been saying that for ages now too. This thing is ratty. I mean, the entire left sleeve, the outer, it's double layered. The entire outer layer of the left sleeve just ripped right off. Great big rip, and what I've wanted in the way of a bathrobe, I can't find. The closest I come is these mail order things. And I've looked at the description, and they go up to 6x, 7x, 8x, 9x, 10x, and people are writing in who have bought the things say that the sleeves are too tight. I'll tell you what I want. I want a bathrobe that goes all the way to the floor. I want it so big that it wraps all the way around me. Double door. I want the sleeves. I would like terracotta. I would like soft and thick. But I would like sleeves so baggy they're 2 or 3 times wider than my arm. Just big, long, kung fu movie type big sleeves, and the sleeves should come all the way down to my end of my fingertips, with when my arm is outstretched. I want a hood on the thing. I pull it up, and my whole head disappears inside it. How will you see your head? I don't care. I don't care if I have to see it. If I have to walk around holding the hood up with one hand, I don't care. I want to be able to disappear into this thing. I want an Andre the Giant robe. That's what I want. I want one that would fit Andre the Giant for me. Now, going by the fact that the man obviously did not walk around, and going by the fact that Andre the Giant and many of the men and women out there like him in the extraordinary large size do not walk around naked, somebody has to be manufacturing their clothes. I'm sort of hitting, yeah, this is about the point I'm starting to hit empty. It's been about 3 hours. Ow, 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 ow. Ow, crud. Ow, ow. Ow, fudge. Cool. And ouch. Teach me to twist my knee. Okay, I think. No. Okay, I'm drifting off again. Okay, it has been 3 hours, and once again I've reached the end of my wakefulness tether. So I'd better shut off before I fall face down on the keyboard and injure myself. So I want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Got a new strip up in Nip and Tuck. It's not much, but yes, I am still alive, barely alive, but I am moving. I'm going to try and have a new chapter of Ladybird up eventually, next day or so. It's not exactly flowing, but maybe even another chapter of the Great Alicorn Hunt. And I am still tampering with the idea of making Tales of the Quest, or trying out making a chapter or two in the what do they call it? What do they call them in Japan. It's not not anime comics. They call them light novels. We'll see about that. I'll just see where it goes with that. Right now it's just an idea. For right now, this is it for tonight. Y'all take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. If you do want a commission, I have a big backlog of commissions. But if you're really willing to wait, I am taking commissions. I also take pledges and donations, and I also have a few items for sale. If you want to check that out on the website. Thank you all for watching, and thank you all for reading. And I'll catch you again next time. Good night.